The fact is, we've seen a lot of presentations today, but we haven't really had, you could say, an on-stage discussion from multiple speakers. So we're going to wrap things up today with a special panel discussion, kind of like summarizing everything we've been talking about today, and that is what should we expect for design for the next generation, because it's quite important, and we are very honored indeed to have a wide array of speakers with us here on the stage as we prepare the stage for you. Thank you again to our audience members who are here, are still here with us throughout today. I'm sure that you've been inspired and hopefully have made some friends today as well, and possible connections for your work and projects in the future. Now, as we go forth, I'm sure that you probably may have some questions for any of our speakers who come up here, so you're more than invited to have some feedback throughout our session. All right, without further ado, I'd like to invite to the stage Mr. Nithi Sthapitanonda, the founder of A49, along with Dr. Narongwit Areemit, Executive Director of A49, and Dr. Bordin, Vongvitayapirom, Senior Manager of Sustainability and Climate COE, Deloitte Touche Tohmatsu, Jaiyos Company Limited. And to moderate this special session is our very own Ajahn Prom Ka. Please welcome them to the stage.
Okay, and I think because this is the very last session of today, I think we are opening up the gates on the side so the students can actually come in and join us in the middle as well. But before we officially start, how are you, Khun Bordin, Khun Narongwit?
Yeah, it has been a very great honor to be here after I have graduated here for 30 years, part of alumni as well. So it's very honored to be here, to be back here.
It's a pleasure for us to have you as well here. And Khun Bordin, how are you doing so far?
It's really inspiring sessions because it's out of my world, because my background is engineering. Right? I work closely with architecture and all kind of the industry. So it makes sense to collaborate each other and try to get it done.
I think and that resonates what Khun Don, Mr. Don Norman has been saying in the earlier this morning as well, that it's not just about architects, it's all about combining different disciplines together and working together to actually achieve something as of for now or for the next generation. And that comes to the topic of this session, which is actually titled Design for the Next Generation. And just in case if you're wondering, Khun Nithi unfortunately can't be here, so he submitted a video which I believe would be a very, very good start to kick off today according to the topic of design for the next generation. So can we please have Khun Nithi videos going? Thank you, Kap.
ตัวผมเองก็ทำงานมาร่วม50 ปี 60 ปี ก็ตลอดเวลาที่ทำมาก็เห็นความเปลี่ยนแปลงในโลกนี้ค่อนข้างเยอะนะครับในยุคที่ผมเริ่มต้นเป็นสถาปนิกเนี่ยเราไม่ค่อยมีปัญหาเรื่องสภาพแวดล้อมนะอากาศก็ดูจากเท่าที่ย้อนหลังกลับไปนี่มีความรู้สึกว่ามันไม่มีอะไรเป็นวิกฤตไม่มีอะไรรุนแรงในเรื่องของดินฟ้าอากาศนะครับแต่พอมาในยุคนี้โลกของเราก็เปลี่ยนแปลงไปมากซึ่งไม่น่าเชื่อว่าจะเปลี่ยนแปลงไปได้มากมายและรวดเร็วขนาดนั้นนะครับก็คืออากาศร้อนมากร้อนขึ้นมากโดยเฉพาะยิ่งในปีนี้นะฮะซึ่งอันนี้ฟังข่าวคราวมาทั่วโลกเนี่ยก็ทราบว่าเกิดวิกฤตทั่วโลกเลยนะในเรื่องของความร้อนนะฮะเช่นการละลายของน้ำแข็งทางขั้วโลกนะครับเกิดน้ำท่วมที่ Middle East นะฮะฝนตกหนักที่ตะวันออกกลางหรือในยุโรปนั้นก็มีน้ำท่วมมีดินถล่มซึ่งไม่เคยเกิดขึ้นมาก่อนแต่เราได้เห็นแล้วได้เห็นในยุคนี้สมัยนี้ในตอนที่เรายังมีชีวิตอยู่ซึ่งผมว่านี่เป็นความเปลี่ยนแปลงที่หลีกเลี่ยงไม่ได้เลยนะฮะเพราะฉะนั้นการเป็นสถาปนิกในยุคนี้เนี่ยในยุคสมัยนี้นะ มันอาจจะไม่เหมือนยุคเก่าคือยุคเก่านี่เราอาจจะเป็นยุคโรแมนติกทำอะไรที่สวยงามนะครับเป็น monumental architecture นะฮะเพื่อให้มันสวยงามอลังการเป็นอนุสรณ์สำหรับคนรุ่นต่อๆไปอะไรเงี้ยเป็นต้นแต่ว่าในวันนี้ผมคิดว่าสถาปนิกต้องหันกลับมาทำยังไงที่จะให้คนเรายั่งยืนคนเราอยู่ต่อกันไปได้อย่างมีความสุขซึ่งไอ้มีความสุขนี่ก็ยากมากเลยนะเพราะแม้แต่อากาศที่เราหายใจนี่ก็เป็นปัญหาของโลกใช่ไหมครับอย่างที่ประเทศไทยเนี่ยผมเพิ่งฟังข่าวว่าใน1 ปีมีเพียง30 กว่าวันเท่านั้นที่อากาศแจ่มใสอากาศไม่มีปัญหาเรื่องฝุ่น PM 2.5 นะครับนอกนั้นก็เป็นเดือนที่มีปัญหาทั้งฝุ่นละอองมีปัญหาที่รุนแรงขนาดในมาตรวัดเนี่ยออกมาเป็นสีแดงสีม่วงนะความจริงไอ้วันที่เป็นสีม่วงเนี่ยอาจจะมีมากๆเท่ากับไอ้วันที่อากาศเคลียร์นะเป็นสีเขียวนะครับซึ่งอันนี้น่ากลัวมากเลยเพราะนั้นเราสถาปนิกเราก็ประมาทเรื่องนี้ไม่ได้แล้วก็คิดว่าจะต้องผนึกกำลังช่วยอีกแรงหนึ่งในการที่จะทำไงให้โลกนี้มันอยู่ได้อย่างยั่งยืนนะครับอยู่ได้มีคนอยู่ในบ้านแล้วยังสุขสบายมีอายุยืนยาวซึ่งอันนี้เป็นหน้าที่ของเราแล้วเราแทบจะปฏิเสธไม่ได้เลยหรือมองข้ามไปไม่ได้เพราะฉะนั้นก็อยากจะเชิญชวนสถาปนิกทั้งโลกรวมโดยเฉพาะยิ่งประเทศไทยเนี่ยต้องช่วยกันคนละไม้คนละมือทำยังไงที่จะให้งานสถาปัตยกรรมเนี่ยไม่เป็นตัวเสริมทำลายโลกเรานะครับเพราะฉะนั้นการใช้วัสดุอุปกรณ์อะไรก็แล้วแต่หรือระบบภายในอาคารเนี่ยมันต้องคำนึงถึงเรื่องพวกนี้ทำยังไงจะให้ลูกหลานเราตัวเราอยู่ต่อไปในโลกนี้ได้อย่างยั่งยืนนะได้ยินได้ฟังมาว่ามีบริษัทออกแบบบ้านเขาคิดแม้กระทั่งว่าทำยังไงที่จะไม่ให้อากาศจากภายนอกเข้าไปในบ้านได้นะประตูหน้าต่างนี่ต้องซีลนะครับแล้วก็อากาศที่เข้าไปในบ้านนี้ต้องได้รับการกรองแล้วได้รับการ purify แล้วนะซึ่งอันเนี้ยผมว่าสถาปนิกต้องร่วมมือกันแล้วก็ทำยังไงให้คนที่อยู่ในบ้านลูกหลานเราต่อไปเนี่ยเขามีอายุยืนยาวได้ต่อไปมิฉะนั้นแล้วเนี่ยเราจะเป็นปัญหามากเลยนะครับซึ่งอันนี้ก็ต้องฝากไว้สำหรับในวงการออกแบบทั้งหมดนะครับโดยเฉพาะยิ่งอยากจะเชิญชวนสถาปนิกในประเทศไทยเนี่ยครับก็หันมาให้ความสำคัญเรื่องนี้แล้วก็อย่าคิดที่จะทำงานสถาปัตยกรรมของเราให้มันเป็นอะไรที่มันยิ่งใหญ่สวยงามแล้วก็กลายเป็นว่าสิ่งที่เราใช้เราทำในพวกนี้มันกลับกลายเป็นตัวทำลายโลกมันทำให้เกิดเวสต์มหาศาลเกิดอะไรต่างๆที่ทำให้โลกเราจะไปต่อไม่ได้นะอย่างน้อยสุดชีวิตที่ผมเหลืออยู่อีกสัก 20-30 ปีข้างหน้าผมยังอยากเห็นโลกเรากลับคืนสู่สภาพเดิมซึ่งไม่รู้จะเป็นไปได้หรือไม่มีความณวันนี้มีความรู้สึกว่ามันแทบจะสิ้นหวังเพราะว่าไอ้ความรุนแรงอันเนี้ยมันไม่ได้ลดน้อยลงมันมากขึ้นทุกวันใช่ไหมครับเช่นไอ้เรื่อง PM 2.5 เรื่องอุณหภูมิโลกร้อนเรื่องแสงแดดที่มีความรุนแรงมากๆจนทำลายผิวหนังคนทำลายผิวหนังอาคารทำลายต้นไม้นะฮะเกิดไฟป่าเกิดต้นไม้ไหม้เกิดต้นไม้ใบไม้ไหม้สิ่งที่ใกล้ตัวเรามากๆเลยสวนหลังบ้านเรานี่ใบไม้ไหม้หมดเลยนะฮะซึ่งอันนี้น่ากลัวมากๆครับก็อันนี้ครับอยากจะเชิญชวนพวกเราทุกคนช่วยกันคนละไม้คนละมือครับ
Okay, so we started off with Nithi mentioning about like the very, very pressing issues, and now we are now at the point of no return in terms of whether we're going to be surviving 20 or 30 years from now. And he also mentioned how architects or architecture can actually do something about that to begin with. And I believe that kind of phrasing aimed directly at you, Kun Narongwit. So I'm just gonna pass that baton to you, and hopefully you can expand a bit from Nithi on about the architecture or the architect as a whole, and also coming in from the executive director from A49 as well.
Thank you. So Can I have my slides on the screen? Okay, thank you. So regarding to what Nithi already said, he established the Department of Energy Conservation maybe 10 years ago to tackle those kind of issues. And I'm also part of that, so I try to explain what we as a A49 try to achieve. When we look at environmental problems, actually there is the word that we often hear about the carbon neutral, zero carbon, that is quite common. But the bottom line is that, like Don already said in the morning section, so we don't want temperatures of the world going beyond blah, blah, blah temperatures, right? That is one part of the problem, but another part of the problem is a waste that we have in the world. So when we're talking about these technical problems, we have two worlds, world of the carbon and world of the waste, which is both of them must be our concern going forward into the future. But of course, technically, I think Dr. Bordin would be better to explain that, but I will show the case study that in A49 we have done a little bit of the projects that showing what we are currently concerned. I would like to say first that the project I present, normally it would be the competitions project, whether it's want competition or not, but all other projects will be the competitions in order for you to understand the context before. The first one is Lama Tibeti, which is a public hospital, big one in Thailand, and they released design competitions maybe 3 or 4 years ago about the medical center, and this is just part of the competitions. Actually, it's a medical center. You need to have the OPD where the people come for the treatment, and they released the program to have the 4 clinics we see here. L means large, S means small, and M for medium. There's several sizes of the clinic, and each clinic will have an examinations room, dispensing, payment, waiting, and clean. Actually, this is the normal program, but when we want to adjust the program to be able to get better result in this term, to build less with more result. How we will do that? Firstly, instead of having a small clean in each clinics, right, and a small waiting area in each clinic, we decide we can combine that in order for you to have a big clean, big waiting room, and with technologies you can distribute the patients into each clinic easily nowadays. And secondly, the drugs. Actually, right now we have the system to deliver the drugs to the patient with technology. So no need to have drug stores in each floor or each clinic in order to reduce resource. So that we propose the RAMA that we can combine that and use the robotic and pneumatic systems to distribute to the waiting area, and you can just sit right there in the waiting area and somebody's deliver the drugs to you. That's the second thing. And they also emphasize that into the future, we do not need to go to hospital. So telemedicine is one of the important part of the hospital in the future, and also it reduces the area we need to build for the hospital as well. The next one, which is quite obvious for us nowadays, we don't need to have the payment at each clinic anymore. We pay by their mobile, right? So actually we can combine that into the waiting area, and we have the finance department to deal with their cashless payment and the payment for the telemedicine as well. So after this, you can have the less area with more products, and by the quality of the people, you have the big waiting area, and you can have those kind of the beautiful atmosphere, which normally a hospital doesn't process those kind of things.
Very shared in a way.
Yeah, that's right. The second thing is another competitions that we won in Rajburi, which is very famous for have the clay bricks over there. So in order to reduce the transpositions between constructions, using the regional material is quite usual for sustainable solutions. Sharing economy, not limited to architectures, but we can see examples for other sharing economy where they use very limited resource, but with more outcome. Building light, we actually do some commissions with CATCDC years ago about the pavilion, but of course, normally pavilion will require a lot of resource to build and a lot of resource to demolish it after just a week. So we propose them, we can create something that can disappear. The shading on the roof become bag that people can bring back. The balloon, which is the lifting force of the shade, we don't have a structure, so we use the balloon to lift everything up. People can bring the balloon back as a happiness to bring back to their home. So after the event, nothing left over there. That is kind of reducing the load, reducing the waste. Also, some others project that building for the future. We won the award last year from World Architectural Festival, and this is PTT LNG headquarter office. And actually, what they do is they provide the gas for the household use. But before doing that, they need to bring the gas from the overseas. The gas from overseas, actually, they need to compress into the liquid. So that's why they call liquefied natural gas. When the liquefied natural gas comes to Thailand, you need to expand it, evaporate it into the gas again to be able to use in the household. In that process, it creates a huge amount of cold energy. And before this project, those kind of cold energy needs to expose to the sea in order to get rid of those kind of cold energy. But this competitions design we propose otherwise, if we can use those kind of cold energy into something else that provide values for the company. So instead of that, they have that campaign in Lyon that we have the tulip garden every year for 2 weeks. But we propose that what if you have those kind of cold energy, why don't you use that and create those kind of winter garden for the whole year? And for a result, not only this kind of public space we get from those cold energy, they can have another business unit that's selling this kind of tulip flowers. Actually, the whole building costs 1,000 million, but they sell the tulip 200 million baht a year.
Wow.
It means that by selling the tulips 5 years, you can build another building. This is come out of the waste energy that we found, right? And the last project regarding to sustainability, Ajahn Will asked me to present this project as well. It's not been built yet. Of course, it's coming next year when we have the expo in Osaka, Japan. So is Thailand Pavilion that we won the competitions, fortunately. In next year, they will, our Ministry of Public Health will be the host that exhibit those kind of content to the world. So the concepts come from the land that provide you the health, right? And from the architectural point of view, we try to look into it. And in the history of our public health, actually, it's not technology, but it's something that we see in wellness, we see in spa, we see in softness of Thai architectures.
Like art in a way, right?
Yes, that's right. So why we can't use this for the architectures? And in the previous history of Thai architecture, in order to express those kind of softness, we don't use the curve exactly, but we use the XYZ coordinations building system. And by doing those kind of small details, we get those kind of the softness, right? So for that, I think is our inspirations into the design. The site is quite narrow, as you can see here. And we have a lot of various programs from the outdoor, the theaters. We have high volume exhibitions, which is dark. The retail, which is very limited areas, so we're there. And we have the service on the back as well. We don't put the service in between because we want the universal design to go through those kind of space without any stairs. And from what I already said about the softness of Thailand, we have the Thai jump has shape in the history that express the shape that Thai architecture would like to achieve. And if we want to achieve this kind of complete form of architecture, actually we need 2 times the site in order to express a full scale of the gable roofs or something like that. But we don't have that. And we use those kind of the service area and put the mirror wall so that to have the reflections of the we build only half, but we get the image of the full Thai pavilion over there. And the roof, as I already said in the beginning, as the functions is quite different in terms of the volume. So if we consider that, we should be able to adjust those kind of form according to the volume as well. So those kind of the software architecture adjust accordingly to what kind of function it would be. And we use those kind of Thai tectonic construction method periods in the history to construct those kind of details. And those kind of details also contain some information that we can have. We can put the natural light in some area. We can have the view from those kind of details as well. And after we do some computational on the solar radiations and put some solar or photovoltaic cells over the area that only have the high intensity of solar. And during the autumn and spring period, we have a really mild temperatures over there, so we can use a natural ventilation as well. That is complete the architecture that we design for the competitions, and this is how it looks from the main circulations of the expo into the space. Within the space, you can have a lot of volumes within the building, and the building adjusts according to the functions as I already mentioned. And you can see some areas have the skylight, some areas have the windows over there. The detail. And the mirror complete the form of the building into the complete form, Thai form. And actually that is only part of the design concept, but actually we need to do some carbon neutral for this project as well. But I won't go into the detail because Dr. Bordin would be better than me at describing this kind of detail. But as you can see, there are cross-laminated timber, those kind of things, and local materials, constructions, even we need to calculate those kind of things to be able to make sure that those kind of the carbon achieve the zero balance in the total. As you can see this kind of curve, we reduce the carbon emission as well as we try to absorb those kind of carbon to make it finally balance in the end. That is the presentations that I prepare for this part.
Wow, that's just a small round of applause for Kun Narongwit Kap. That was a lot of information. I'll try my best. So we started we started off with zero though. So if anyone can see zero, right? And then you go from zero carbon, right, to zero waste. Yes. And then as an architect and as the practice of the firm, from the architectural point of view, you were looking at how you are building less, thinking more, and how that leads to building for the future. And that leads from the hospital projects to the very last project, which is the expo. And then I believe you were emphasizing a lot about the material, right? Would you like to clarify a bit more in terms of how material actually come into place? And then I'll forward that transition to Kun Bordin afterwards.
Yeah, because when we build the artificial world, we need something to be able to construct those kind of building. And those kind of material, normally in the process, they produce some carbon, produce some waste in a way, right? In order to make that balance to the world. Actually, we need not to release the carbon into the atmosphere, right? But that is not possible by current construction methodology. So in order to offset those kind of carbon emissions amount, we need to do something else, like putting the solar radiations on the top of the building, which we normally see downstairs. We need to do some forestations. If you might have heard some company need to do that, right? They sell some carbon credit in order for someone to do that instead of you do, right? That is quite important part of our professions nowadays, not only design and select the material that is beautiful, but we need to know the technology, the data behind those kind of the material that we already selected as well.
Okay, thank you, Kap. Now, we're now at the term of the word technicality, and I believe if we're going to jump right straight to that point, it's now your part, Kap, Dr. Bordin. So again, we're still within the topic of design for the next generation, and we get off from architects to architecture, and now we're talking about materials, tectonics, and even calculations as well. So what do you think about it, Kap?
Right. Thank you for having me today. And it's very impressive that in terms of the architecture perspective has a lot of information regarding to the emissions and also how we can reduce with that. And just a little bit of the background for Deloitte, Touche, Tohmatsu, Jaiyos is like Deloitte Thailand, right? But we are providing a service across the South Asia for all industry. So it's really glad that all the industry are focused on this and also in terms of architectures. And let me move forward to the presentation.
ต้องกดขึ้นมา Oh yeah, it's here.
Okay.
Oh.
I think it's just a little bit of lacking.
Yeah, I think it's a bit delayed.
Maybe next slide, please.
รบกวนขอสไลด์ถัดไปด้วยครับ
Okay, one more, please. Okay, if you're thinking about the real estate, right, the construction, the everything that building material is considering as a part of built environment sectors. That right now, if you can see across the value chain, it's starting from the mining, the raw materials, coming from transportation, logistics, refining, and in terms of architecture, design was the best practicalities that best fits for your objective, and also in terms of the commercial objective as well. And afterwards, it's going to come to the operation, waste, decommissioning, demolitions, and also reuse, reprocessing. Thinking about if you're building the new building, right? Whether it's going to be residential building, commercial buildings, or the art facilities, everything you have to use, like you use the steel, right? Steel bar, maybe half inches, 1 inches, couple inches, and refining of those iron ore mining coming from environmental require energy, and transportation of those and refining into smelting to iron ore, pebble, and also to use as the iron bar require of a lot of energy intensive. And like Dr. Narongwit mentioned, that it's contained embedded emission for all the product that you are using, whether it's going to be high embedded or low embedded, right? And also, if you're looking into the world global emission at the moment, right? If you see the lower left-hand side of the CO2 emission, embodied carbon emission is meaning that whether you use a product is contained embedded emission. And right now, in terms of the embodied emission coming from steel and also the chemical, majority of that, if you're using like plastic, resin, and also of the facilities using the chemical, is contained of the embedded emission. And right now, it become more and more important that all the industry require to make the lower emission, or else it will get the penalty sooner or later. Right? In Thailand, I think it will be soon, maybe in upcoming a couple of years, and 2029 it will have the law coming. So everyone needs to collaborate and each other to tackle of this emission as well. So we have the built environment value chain that coming from, if you're building a building, right? Cement will be your most majority emission because in producing the cement, just like using the cement and using the iron bar to make a foundation happen, it contains a lot of emission, right? Not only you have to decide of how you can use lowest of these high emission in your design as much as possible. So it become a lot of the world global collaboration. Not only you are participating as a part of the system, but your whole ecosystem need to contribute with that as well. Because if you are maximize of those, and later on the climate change's impact on your environmental, like if you are maximize on the sun radiation to export to your design, but in the 5 years, the radiation or the intensity is less or is changing. It will impact on your design later on. So this provides you that example of how and why of our industry will helping on decarbonization and you as a part of contribution. For next slide, provide you with the more broadened picture on what you mentioned earlier about the net zero, right? We have NDC, National Determined Contribution, that almost every country at the moment is just like have the policy in places. And if you can see that on the building measure, there are many of the mitigation, adaptation, cross-cutting edge that help you providing, I think, which majority of the category Dr. Narongwit mentioned, right? Just like we maximize on use of the energy efficiency, reduce the heat absorption for the building to further reduce on how we can make the air condition maximize of the energy to use to make you cooling, renewable energy, cooking material, building structure resiliencies, and also how to make the financings. Because if you are asking for financings, right, and you decide a lot of mega project, and the banking or the finance institution will asking you, what are you design? What material you're going to use? If the banking provide you with non-mitigation of the embedded emission, it's going to be problem because you will have higher interest rate of the loan. But if you are complying with that in terms of the ecosystem, it will help you making much more climate-friendly design as well.
And are you seeing that as an incentive as well, or is it that is the way that we should be doing? It's just because I can see it's really sad that Thailand is in grey, where it's like no mention at all.
Thailand will become soon. It have regulation coming, but it will become soon. But in terms of the compliance, incentive, right now we have incentive, but limitation of incentive. But in terms of non-regulation, like the financial institution, they are just expected that they will change it soon. Like we have Thai Banker Association, we have Bank of Thailand, that all the loan providing to the SME for all the business should be low carbon. It will be easier for them because in soon, currently they already comply, right? If you are providing the loan for building the construction, they will calculate the construction emission as the investment emission that the bank has to offtake with that. So it will become bank will have to responsible with that sooner or later. It will help you if you have a good design, you have good the construction engineering process that comply with everything. So apart from that, we have the energy code. What does it mean? Energy code is like the communication languages that all the country need to express to the public and to comply with that. And in Thailand, we have Thai Green Building Institution, Building Energy Code, Environment Product Declaration, that provide a lot of the things that you need to comply, right? If we can put on the good example, we have Thailand issued a regulation in January that mentioned all of the commercial building that age over 20 years, 20 past year, had to comply with energy efficiency standard with it. So just to recap on next slide, we have regulation coming and what length that do they expect? It may have like the heat transfer value, roof transfer, heat transfer value from the office, the roof, the light densities, the AC system that they will use. So I'm thinking of that. If you are architecture, right, you cannot just doing your own. There are many works that require collaboration across of the discipline. So if you already know something and tackling on what the country and what the industry is focused to achieve with the NDC, the net zero, it will become more easier for you to get the design, proper funding, use the right material, because in the end you have to collaborate with engineer, right? And later on maybe feng shui, that to see the good design, right? It has like the conflict problem about the design intricately and also with the good horoscope with that. So what I'm trying to say with that, there are regulations for international policy that pushing us. And I believe all the ecosystem are already respond soon or later. Thailand already issued some legislation which will further endorse, propose secondly to the cabinet. And those will come another push for you to make the design more user-friendly, climate-friendly regarding to it. So apologies that there might be some of the technical word a lot, but this is the thing that it is expected for you to understand what's the push right now and try to take advantage of those of the environmental friendly, and also the government is trying to push forward. It will become more easier for you to get a lot of the funding later on.
Wow. Well, there's a lot to take. I'm going to make sure that my students, which might be sitting at the back, take a very careful notes of this so that they can educate me afterwards. But you mentioned a very good part about all of these, that they are all part of the plan. They're part of the bigger scheme that everyone has been trying to develop and make sure that it happens. And then at the beginning, though, you mentioned about how us or how architects or how human are the ones who actually utilize it. Like if these are tools, we will have to be the one to actually use it, or if it's a gun, it's us pulling the trigger anyway. But now I'm going to take it back to you, because I believe your next part will talk more about the people, the ones who will be utilizing all of these tools. And Dr. Bordin also mentioned about the cultural aspect as well, that Thai people didn't actually follow that much, and then you're hoping that we do that, right? So, คุณ Dr. Udomdech ครับ
Yes.
Please.
Okay. For my part, actually, when we have complicated problems currently, actually, so in A49 we recognize that as well. So we create this new department to tackle those kind of problems. I think it's 4 years ago that we have this kind of department. And within the department, because as it is very complicated problems nowadays, so we need multidisciplinary people to work on it. So starting from BIM, sustainability that I already mentioned, the data. Normally in architecture firm, we don't find this kind of department, but right nowadays we need to utilize those kind of big data together with the technology to achieve more, right? So we also set the data department as well, and also the digital technology. We also utilize the data with the technology to produce something. I think in this talk I will focus on these topics in order to show you that how we achieve those kind of things together with our people. So it creates the standard design strategy within the company to tackle those kind of problems. Dr. Bordin already mentioned some, right? And those kind are examples that we have done. Also, the Expo project that I already shown is come from the scripting, actually, the programming to deal with everything that normally one person cannot think of, right? So it's really complicated, and when we have those kind of design flow, we can output any information outward as well. like making this kind of model, we make it like a 1 hour model only. So with this kind of project, we can do something beyond the capability of one human can do. So actually, when we think about the process a building can complete, it starts from the program, design, constructions, and operations to the demolitions. But of course, we might emphasize on those 2 parts. The program, actually, this part, I think from within our school as well, we've started with this one. How we would like to have the data on the program, better data, you can design better, right? So we were taught in the past that the prevailing wind would come from the southwest, right?
Southwest.
And we think of that in every project we design. But if we provide more data, how it would be, we would know that in Bangkok actually it's not southwest, actually. But we can know the majority of the wind come from the south. At what speed, at how many frequent those kind of the wind can come, right? That is another step. But if you ask the client, the user, what they would like to know, they would not like to know where the wind comes, right? They would like to know within their home, within their house, in which area can achieve those kind of wind enough to provide comfort, right? So in terms of data, we see the complications that we need to learn, we need to understand before providing solutions to the user. That's the first thing that our data department do. The second, from the program perspective, we need to better understand of the program and site. Actually, right now, we start design a project by knowing their site conditions first, right? And we would like to know how many people walk around the site. How would we do in the past? We count one by one, right? And we don't even know they walk in the morning, they walk in the noon, or in the evening. But with the tools today, actually you can track everything, time-based as well. So why do not we use this kind of technology yet, right? Or even the mobility business already apply those kind of things. Or even not the human, but the environment. If we would like to know the condition of the site, whether those kind of species used to live there, we need to preserve those kind of species. Why we can't do that, right? So this kind of technology we try to implement and to show that we have one project that we collaborate with, of course, the Bangkok as well, TCDC as well, as in front of our office. It's quite dark during the night, and some criminal cases happen as well. So we provide a solution that if you walk around those kind of area, you can have friends walking with you, right? We create the animators to walk with you when you walk in front of our office, and it increased blindness so well as well. And it become a node for the Bangkok Design Week in last year for people to visit. And behind that, like I said, it is about the technology that we use. We recognize, use image recognitions to recognize where people will be, and we analyze it and put the projector on the screen behind in order to create those kind of image and the blindness that the user would see. Or another aspect of the program, what attributes matter when we research about if we would like to design a Cafe Amazon today, how would we design based on the information we have? We might think the Cafe Amazon is green or something like that, but it's not. It's only our opinion, but it's how about the people opinions. So we create the tools that track those kind of information that people think about Cafe Amazon over the social platform to gain the insights about the brand. And for that, actually, it's not only the wording that they're explaining about the Maison, it's about the image as well. What kind of image the people take photo about the Cafe Maison, and we use the technology to analyze those kind of keywords that we need to concern when design something. Or even what kind of the color when they would like to express about the Cafe Amazon, we know that beforehand, before design. Or some imaginations that we need to open the possibility for design. I think it's about technology as well. We have the expo, the architectural expo in Udomdech is our competitions last year, but we didn't won the competitions. But there is a big pond in the center of the city, and right now it's just pond. But if we track into the history, it's never a pond before. It's just a part of the river where those kind of the ecosystem thrives. So in order to go back to the history and make those kind of ecosystems come back, we need the tools to understand those kind of water flows and the sedimentations under the pond, how those kind of pond shape would change if we introduce the water flow back or something like that. And this provide the idea to the master planner how they would put those kind of design within the site. If we don't have those two, we cannot do this, right? So that is part of the technology we do for the design as well. And for the design part, actually, after we get those kind of big data, how would we do that? We will show some of the project that we designed. This is the court project, actually. What I would not go into detail about the conceptual, but what I would like to show, actually, right now, if we have the thinking process and we put it into the script, right? It is very easy to create something out of the thinking process instead of making a 3D every time you think about the thinking process, how the building would be, and it becomes a building after you complete. What do we gain from this one? It's not only a building, but actually it's thinking process that you can develop into other projects as well. So we not develop from the zero if we have another project coming tomorrow, right? So that is quite important for us. This one as well, we have only a lines here, but if you put our thinking process into those kind of lines, actually you can get a lot of the building's components coming from the previous project that we have those kind of thinking process. And it become our project that normally we do, right? But we do with more insight, we do with less time with those kind of technology. And those kind of technology also will provide some insights about the sustainability as well. And some other projects as well, we do the competitions for their PEA office. And it's part of their office that they do in northeastern region in Thailand. They want to have the office with very minimized solar radiations. And we would like to reduce as much as possible solar radiation while we still have the enough sufficient daylight, right? But we also would like to use least material to provide the maximum effect of the shading as well. So in those terms, the calculation, everything provide us the insight that if you do not put the shading aligned with the ground, but instead make it a little bit inclined, depends on the side of the wall that you are facing, and we get the maximize of the shading performance with minimized material use. And when we have the maximized potentials of the solar protections, we have the maximized solar potential as well. So you can put their solar PV photovoltaic cells over there and produce a maximized power as well. And for the design, it's not only about the sustainable, but sometimes it's mean about the people as well. So in this project, we try to predict the behavior of the people out of nothing. We have the retail project in Rayong, and normally if we do the retail project, we put the shop around, right? And we found out that if you put the shop around, actually people, when they entrance the building, they face some store and they just go straight at it, right? So the user doesn't distribute to every shop equally. But if we put some space in between and have some activities over there, it becomes the distributors of the people as well. And if we can do that, we predict how people will move within the space. And if we know how people move within the space, we would create appropriate volume for the user as well. So the dot means the people will go to any shops they like, right? And if we know that, we can create the volume that if there is really dense people over there, you need more volume over there and become a shape of the architecture and space according to the density of the people within. So those kind of technology provide us the insight how design would be and actually become the design itself later on as well. So that is my part.
Oh, okay. So we're seeing a bit more of how like generative design, right, actually comes in and how that plays in terms of the even like at the decision-making process as well. So if it's back to you though, where do we stand though? Because we started off as us as an architect, we need to do something about it, and then we talk about numbers, we talk about initiative, we talk about policies, and now it seems like we are slightly out from the thinking process. So where do you think we actually fit in these scenarios?
As a person, right? Because actually the computer cannot start from scratch, right? We need to put those kind of thinking process before the computer can start doing the repetitions of the process. We plays very important role to define those kind of process before the computer can work, right? That's the first part. And the outcome of the computer you've seen actually is not an absolute answer to the solutions we have. Actually, we have several solutions, several options that provide similar results in terms of the numbers, right? We don't really need the base score scenario always. Sometimes we need second base or third base, but provide something else in terms of the people. Something else in terms of aesthetic, right? Because we still would like to stay in the aesthetics place, aesthetics atmosphere, right? So we still stand there, but some repetitive process, like in factory, we do not need to do it anymore because we do not perform better than them. Or some place where very complicated data comes, right? Computer perform a lot better than us to understand those kind of complex situations. We utilize them to help us to decide better for the better future. Yeah.
Now, with decision making, though, I'm coming back to Dr. Bordin. What do you think about it, though, in terms of we have numbers, we have policies, we have technologies, we have people making decisions now, and now we're also waiting. What's the best option? What's second best, or what's the most aesthetic ones? What's your idea about this one?
It has to be in the middle because there are many pushes at the moment, and everyone is trying to survive at the moment, right? With all the pushes that we have, everyone has to survive with the economy and all the pushes. So I think that should be a middle ground for the people, the governments to push with the target that they committed, and how you can make profits that can feed the families, right? And many of Dr. Narongwit's presentation that has a good ground of analytical things that can be further used in terms of the calculating of the wind strength, that may be further of the wind turbine, and also solar PV radiation, that if you are install the solar PV in your rooftop, have you ever wondered that why this month is the cost of the electricity is not reduced? Because it may be further that the radiation, the install capacity is not enough, or degradation of the solar PV. There are many factors that in terms of the data, you can calculate with that. And in terms of the policies, in terms of the mass scale, it just these data as the foundation to be further as to push for the many regulation that's going to come in the futures. So I would say believe in that if everything just pushing forward, you have to look that if everyone in the country, in each country, can be stepping up with you. Or you have to, a little bit of the transition periods, which I also believe that Thailand is still in the transition periods. It has a timeline, maybe 5 years, 10 years of the gap, till everything needs to be compliant as sequestration. So coming to the seconds of the circularities. So I also believe in that in terms of the design, in terms of policy push, there are many of the factors that can contribute to the success of the design and to achieve with the national target as well. One thing is about the circularities. So going forward to the next slides, which the transition to low carbon energies and to achieve the pathway to net zero. As the first slide I mentioned that you cannot think about design and using the material, but you have to see the whole value chain, right? From manufacturing, construction, that the design phase is coming to have everything. And afterward, when you finish your design, right? Operation, retrofits, and the end of life for the commissioning of the project. You have to see about every perspective, not only design that achieve for your goal, but thinking further that if you are leaving your design, your building for maybe 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, and it's coming to demolition, how the people can maximize the using of your wasted to be further to other process. It's one key of the circularity. And this picture showing that in all of the phases, to achieve the circular economy value chain, you have to be thinking beyond what you are doing at the moment. And we have a few examples regarding to this as well. For circularity, for building the environment, there are 4 key action areas for success. The first thing is about the reduced consumption of material resources. So thinking about if you are building one of the residential building, right? Maybe just 2 floor, 3 floor, and you have to order. I mean, engineering would order normally, but your design could be helpful on reduce of those using material. Or are there any technologies that maybe increase of the tensile strengths of the pressure that one steel can handle? Or many design reduce the using of the material, just like the bolt, the nut, design anything. Second, about regenerative nature. The third is about expand lifetime of the used material, design for disassembly as well. Those are the 4 keys that maybe provide you with the broadened perspective that there are options right now, or there will be an option in the future availability in the market, which I think most of the industry is accelerate on those of the technology to be further implication to build environmental sectors. So starting from the reduced consumption of material. So sorry a little bit, maybe a little bit of the technical. So if you are using the cement, right, and the concrete, there are low carbon concrete or the cement at the moment. And the process of making low carbon cement is many ways. For example, using the hydrogen, right? The hydrogen that we are breathing, right? There are mixings with liquid hydrogen or the gas with the cling to reduce of using the pure cement. So this will become the initiative that if you are designed for the commercial building, so this is thing that will help with maybe your design objective or your design goal is about maybe low carbon, and you are using those kind of the material that complement to your thought of the process and the objective of the buyer as well. So there are many of the case studies like cement, e-concrete, that maybe using the bio-concrete as well. There are many things that can be used like the self-repairing concrete. So if you are using as the engineering construction, lay the foundation of the concrete, you have to be spraying the water maybe 4 times, 5 times a day to make it
To cure it.
to curate the water that prevent the crack. So if you have any missing things that maybe a small crack, maybe adding the bacteria during the mixing of the process can be reducing the symptom of the cracking in the future as well. For example, nature-based solution is like you maximize the environmental what's the geography providing at the moment. For example, you can be in urban planning for the city, and during the seasonal, there may be a lot of the water coming, and you design the city to prevent as using the geography as to separate the water or finding alternative way. There are many of the guidelines and the manual regarding to UN regarding to this. You can further with it, and integrate with sustainable services like the to reduce climate risks, biodiversity, the habitat, to maximize for the use of the living of existing of the animal, maybe endangered species on your construction or the area that you are designing. Coming to the last slide, which coming from the third one is about the expand of the lifetime of material resource. So it will become more about decarbonization. So right now, if you want to maintain the temperature of your construction and the building, as you can see the map from the Narongwit, that some of the area have the heat intensity that already reflect to the sun in the maybe in the afternoon session. So maybe using of those technology, for example, it may coming from the solar PV directly linked to the AC, which can be further used. And those of the air condition can be dual using with both AC and DC as well. So the initiative that can help with decarbonization, energy sources as well. Some of the very large scale of the project, like the NEOM project in the Saudi Arabia, that construct of the building as the environmental friendly and using renewable energy. There are many ways of using the new energy like green hydrogen to produce the electricity in the really big scale of the project as well. Or maybe just like the phrase that previously in the afternoon session mentioned about district cooling. So the district cooling is about if you have the big the project and you have to rely on the AC, right? You construct the big district cooling and you distribute the air, the cooling to all of your district. So it will increase the energy efficiency, and it will come that the energy efficiency for the whole big project is much more effective from separating into each of the small in the room. So this kind of thinking of decarbonization should complement to the design as well. And the last thing about the design for the assembly, as I mentioned that thinking about in the future that what making the best use of your design, right? For example, the project in Thailand, they have like the oil and gas, and in the subsea of the pipeline, they have to decommission, and they just cut some part of the pipeline and using as the program as to grow as the reef underground. It's called project, it's called Rig to Reef. So thinking about design for assembly, easy for assembly or disassembly as well, demolition, and further use of those of the wastes. For example, if you're using a lot of cement, right, there may be already some initiative that you are grinding the cement into the powder or just small chunk, and you just lay it as a foundation of many of the construction materials regarding to that. So I would say that circularity is one thing that can complement to the design, architecture, and we have a lot of the synergy between design and how to make it the base of the effort regarding to circularities. So I think that's the part of the presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Cup. And I think, well, just out of my curiosity as well, because we also have students who are still surviving. So there were 4 main steps, right? And sounds a bit complicated though. From your like experience as well as your opinions, well, what's the easiest way for us to actually start, and also for the students as well?
So there are four ways, right? Four of the initiative require a different type of the interest and knowledge, right? And the easiest, I would say that energy efficiency would be the easiest way. If you are done thinking about everything, you just install the solar, right? Solar rooftop, solar PV, or the big project maybe require you conduct as private purchasing agreement, PPA. Maybe you just have contact the renewable energy developer and saying that you have to require a lot of the renewable energy, you just contract with that. But in terms of other perspective, require a lot of the understanding to each of the material. So picking what impact to you most, to your project or your interest, and try to see whether there are any technologies in the market. I believe that there are a lot of the technology in the market that you can choose, but implication to Thailand geography might provide some of the challenging because those technology maybe around the EU or the US. Thinking about implication to your own would be the best thing, and just try to see much more. You don't have to understand about technical terms. Just understand that what's available option, and ask the people who are in charge. Would be the easiest way.
I would like to put some additions to that as well. As a designer, I know how difficult when it comes to technical, right? But if we often start with the questions, right? Because we build something for the human that out of the environment, right? If we build less, it would be better for environment always, right? But the first step for us is to question the program that you have. That is it more than enough or not? Is it efficient or not to do that? Or is it adaptable? This kind of step, it is still possible within our knowledge to do that before it comes to the technologies, right? So as an architectural student, I challenge them to start put the questions within those kind of contexts in order to do those kind of circularity. It might be possible and easier for us as architects to understand this.
Wow, I really like those two answers because I think it resonates back to the talk earlier in the morning is that once we have a problem, right, it's not just about solving the problem right away, but it's all about asking or questioning it first, where's the actual source of the problem and how that actually comes into play. And then I really like your part that you say, if you don't know it, don't force it, ask someone for help. And I think that also brings back to how we cannot actually do this alone, but we need the collaborations. We need people coming in together to actually make sure that this issue is lessened and that the next generation can actually live on. And I think that was the last part for today. So, but before we officially go, I would like to hear your closing speech in regards to today's session. Just a quick one.
Quick one. Actually, it's quite impressive today to have those kind of very diverse perspectives from different speakers. Actually, right now we talk a bit more about the technology and those kind of details, right? But in the beginning, we have those kind of the overview perspective from many stakeholders, as well as not only because we as a work architect is a social science as a Professor Don said in the beginning, actually it's not about the science, it's about social because we make everything for the human. So in order to do that, we need to understand the human as well as the technology. I think the integrations between those kind of two of things will put us forward into the future with right balance, without hurting anything in between.
Okay, thank you very much. And now back to Dr. Bordin, your closing speech.
During the COP last year, the built environmental sector become much more important. And we can expect in this year, during this time, it's already announced something that maybe further accelerate for all industry regarding to the built environment. So I would say that in terms of the regulation, policies, it may be really good if everyone can tag along what to be expect. Because if it's already comply as the registration, it will be too late for you to adapt. But you are already 1 or 2 steps ahead of that. And those requirements require different type of traditional architecture to comply. Because I mentioned that we need collaboration for all the ecosystem to create the meaningful target and the work for the better future, right? So right now, it may be good to tag along with those regulations and try to get knowledge across of your design. Try to find maybe there might be a few years later on a new technology that can help you with different type of the design as well. So tag along with those regulations, explore your knowledge, and you will create a lot of meaningful impact to the society.
Okay, thank you very much. And that concludes this panel discussion sessions. Can I please have a round of applause for our dear panelists, คุณณรงค์วิทย์และคุณบดินทร์ครับ